Welcome, everyone, to Vol Society Live on this Wednesday night. My name is David Morrison. I am the Vol Society analyst right here on the Vol Society Network. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/UT Vol Society. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Kind of a rough week for Tennessee athletics as far as the Tennessee men's and women's basketball teams, and an unfortunate event for a fellow VFL. We'll talk about Olivier Nkamhoua season-ending surgery, and how does that affect the Tennessee basketball rotation as the men's basketball team is about to tip off with Mississippi State as we're recording this. We'll also kind of preview a little bit of Vanderbilt in that mix. Rough week for the Lady Vols, now on a 2-game losing streak. Where does Kelly Harper go from there? We'll also talk about bracketology as we'll take a look at where Joe Laurinardi and Charlie Cream, the men's and women's bracket analysts at ESPN, where did they have both Tennessee teams in the latest brackets? And we'll also touch on the Alvin Kamara incident in Las Vegas. Tennessee men's baseball team and women's softball teams, their TV schedules was announced. We'll tell you how many games are going to be broadcast this year, and 4 Tennessee football players was invited to the NFL Combine today. We'll dive into that one also. So we'll start with Olivier Nkamhoua. Unfortunately, rolled his ankle last Saturday. In the win against South Carolina, ended up breaking it and required season-ending surgery. Although Tennessee never really ruled him out, he's done for the year, but pretty much he's done for the year. Tough blow for the Big Orange. It seemed like Nkamhoua was really settling in nicely for Tennessee. Just an unfortunate timing of this whole thing. And like I said, Tennessee was putting up some big offensive numbers. We saw the win last week against Texas A&M where they put up 90 points, and then Saturday against South Carolina they put up 81. And now, like I said, one of your most improved players on this team done for the year. So where does now Tennessee go? Well, Rick Barnes in a recent press conference mentioned some of the players that need to step up and to kind of fill that void, including John Fulkerson, Brandon Huntley-Hatfield, who seems like he's doing better in practice and earning the respect from Coach Barnes. He also mentioned McAdoo and Meshack as far as getting some significant playing times. As a matter of fact, McAdoo got to play a couple of minutes in that South Carolina game. So going to be very interesting to see where Tennessee goes with this lineup. I think Tennessee's going to kind of stick with this 4-guard rotation that they've been using, or really 5-guard rotation if you want to count Ziegler. But, as of recording, we hadn't had an official starting lineup for tonight's game just yet. But looking on their projections, it seems like Tennessee's going to go with Kennedy Chandler, Santiago Vescovi, Josiah Jordan-James, Justin Powell going to get the start tonight, supposedly. And then, of course, Uros Plavis, who's done a great job being implemented in this lineup. And, of course, Zykeir Ziegler will probably be the first to come off the bench along with Folke, who has really been a fantastic player so far for this Tennessee team and a big key contributor. Matter of fact, just won SEC Freshman of the Week. So, like I said, I feel very confident with this Tennessee team going down the stretch, even without with Nkamhoua's injury. And like I said, the offensive numbers has really improved since we went to this 4-guard lineup and 5-guard rotation. And it seems like the tempo is really kind of picking up. And, of course, Tennessee's going to still be playing great defensively, and that's what Rick Barnes loves is these defensive players that can really create turnovers and create havoc on the defensive side. Of course, it's just, the offensive numbers have been kind of struggling up until the last couple of games, and we'll see if Tennessee can continue that momentum down the stretch, especially going into Vanderbilt Saturday, which we've already played them this year. And, like I said, just continue that momentum, especially with Scottie Pippen Jr., one of the best players in the SEC who plays for Vanderbilt. So we'll see how that goes down the stretch. Talk about the Lady Vols really quick as we kind of shift over to them. Tough week for Kelly Harper's squad. I mentioned it last week. We were kind of hyped about that UConn game on Sunday, and I said don't overlook that Florida game. On Thursday, and when we were doing our baseball preview show, lo and behold, they were down big and got ran out of the gym. And unfortunately, I kind of saw it coming. And Sunday, I'm thinking, okay, well, I figured UConn was going to be a more superior team, but still, just I didn't think we would get blown out, especially since we played them so close last year in Knoxville, and not having their best player, UConn not having their best player on their team, and still just kind of a lack of effort and a lack of enthusiasm going into that game, and just unfortunate that ended up happening. And like I said, Lady Vols has got to get back into winning ways, especially with Missouri coming to town tomorrow night. As we, kind of shifting over to the bracket side, Charlie Cream, who is the women's bracketology expert at ESPN, one of the very few that kind of does a women's bracket projections. He has the Lady Vols now as a number 3 seed, which just 10 days ago he had us as a number 1. It's just those games just started slipping. The Auburn loss, and then the Florida loss, 2 unranked teams, and then UConn, which is a perennial powerhouse, but still that slipped you down. Now, right now he still has us projecting to host an NCAA regional, but now you got teams like North Carolina and Kansas who possibly could be playing the Lady Vols on their home court. And unfortunately, Tennessee in more recent years has struggled in the NCAA tournament where we used to dominate. So going to be very interesting to see how this Lady Vols team can now just adapt and get back on the winning ways and get back to playing really superior basketball. Like I said, it seems like that since that key injury, Tamara Key's injury happened, it just seems like this has kind of been a different team. And, of course, the men's side we talk about with Nkamwa, how are they going to adapt with it? And it seems like the Lady Vols has kind of regressed, even though when Tamara Key went out, they picked up another win, but then it's just kind of fell apart since then. So really need to figure out from Kelly Harper's team who's going to have to step up for them to get back on top. As far as the men's go in their bracketology, I use Joe Laurinaitis. He has Tennessee as a 5th seed playing, I believe, in Milwaukee. Right now he has us playing North Texas. And if we win that game, we either get Houston and New Mexico State. Of course, there's, it's like 5 weeks away until Selection Sunday. But, like I said, Tennessee was in this same spot last year as the number 5 seed and got bounced in the first round to Oregon State, who was the hottest team in the Pac-12, winning their Pac-12 tournament, and then went on a great March Madness run. And now they're near the bottom of the league in the Pac-12. It just shows how much less than a year makes. But like I said, it's it's going to be very interesting to see how both of these teams do now down the stretch. It's like 2 ships passing in the sea. The men's team was trying to find an identity, and the Lady Vols was red hot. Now all of a sudden, it just like swap mindsets. The men's team is red hot, and the Lady Vols are now trying to find themselves. So, going to be very interesting to see how these last 5 weeks or go down the stretch for both of these clubs. Like I said, right now it seems like the men's team kind of knows themselves, and the Lady Vols, which we thought they knew who they were, is not so much. So we shall see going down. We'll talk about the Alvin Kamara situation. For those who may know or may not know, Alvin Kamara over this past weekend was arrested in Las Vegas for battery charges. So Alvin Kamara just got done playing in his 5th straight Pro Bowl in Las Vegas. And apparently when he went, of course, he was probably out in the evenings and in the early morning hours and doing the Vegas lifestyle, and apparently coming back, or I guess he was coming down an elevator and somehow got into some sort of altercation with somebody and beat him up and punched him and stuff, and just an unfortunate event, and was arrested and now facing a court date charge in March in Las Vegas. And the reason I kind of bring it up is because he is a fellow VFL and a very popular VFL and a popular football player. We've talked about how Peyton Manning has been the torchbearer or the flag bearer, or whatever cliche you want to use, as far as Tennessee football goes. And, my generation and probably people 10 years younger than me grew up watching Peyton Manning. And, even probably now a younger generation that the current college football players watch, they probably see Peyton Manning more in the last few years in Denver. And, now him making commercials and Monday Night Football. These players that's currently on the roster at the University of Tennessee never wasn't born when Peyton was in Knoxville. So, yeah, they know Peyton is a legend and a major sports celebrity, but, probably these players that watch Tennessee football or knew Tennessee football the last 5-6 years has been Alvin Kamara. And University of Tennessee has kind of taken advantage of that. A lot of their social media posts, when they talk about the VFLs that's currently in the NFL, they focus heavily on Alvin Kamara. As a matter of fact, before the incident, they wish, or they made a post about Alvin Kamara, 5th straight Pro Bowl, VFL and all that. And of course, when Kamara was at Tennessee, we didn't do a great job as far as utilizing his talents. But he went on to overachieve and come from, he transferred from Alabama over to Tennessee and just kind of had challenges throughout his life until he got to the league. And, now it's just really successful. And it's going to be very interesting to see how Tennessee fans now look at Alvin Kamara. Like I said, I'm a wait and see type of guy, innocent to proven guilty. So I'm going to see what kind of happens at the court date, but it's going to be very interesting to see how the fan base and how the media now looks at Alvin Kamara after this incident. And, I hope for the best for him. Hopefully it's all the charges are dropped and, it's just a blip on the radar and he can continue to have a Hall of Fame type career. But, right now it's kind of how do we look at him at this moment? And it sucks that it's come to that point. 5 straight Pro Bowls and one of the best running backs in the NFL. And, a lot of Vol fans, especially younger Vol fans, love when he played at Tennessee, even though, like I said, we didn't fully captivate on his talents. And, they said before NIL became a big deal, we started selling Alvin Kamara jerseys and along with the Peyton Manning jerseys. It's still popular. So going to be very interesting to see what happens with however this happens, and hopefully it doesn't result to any more serious consequences than what's kind of going on. So we wish the best for Alvin Kamara, and hopefully we hope the best that it comes out on the right end for him. Tennessee baseball team and softball team's TV schedules was announced. Tennessee will have 10 nationally televised games, although ESPN counts the SEC network as a nationally televised channel, which is theoretically correct, even though we probably here in the South look at it as more regional. And the softball team has 15 national televised games. Once again, most of those are on the SEC network. And this is going to be very interesting to see how college baseball and college softball is portrayed this year. And this doesn't really tie with Tennessee per se, but a little bit does. Right now, Major League Baseball is on strike. There's a work stoppage between the players' union and the owners. So right now, and it looks like everything we're hearing, we may not get baseball right at the beginning of the season. So obviously no games on TV, which is going to affect ESPN and Fox, two of the major affiliates, of course, MLB Network. But it's going to be, if I would love to see college baseball get to the level of college football and college basketball. College football and college basketball has been dominating on television for 40 years now. Maybe, well, even college football, 50, 60 years. But, college baseball has always been kind of, unfortunately, just been in a, the sports count on the sports calendar in some kind of not really bad times, but just unfortunate that their games are not portrayed until the College World Series in June. With you got, March Madness going on, the Masters, the Kentucky Derby, the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs. So, and college baseball was just like, well, we'll focus on y'all when you get to Omaha. And, we look at what happened with Tennessee in the NCAA tournament. I would love for that Wright State game would have been on one of the ESPN networks. And yeah, the Drew Gilbert home run and showing the Lindsey Nelson Legends, which is the Tennessee baseball student section, and the fans at Lindsey Nelson Stadium and just going bananas after that walk-off homer. Wouldn't that be cool if that was on a national television level and then leading off into Sports Center or, some program and still bringing up that coverage and just still really get it trending and escalating? That would have been really cool. And, obviously ESPN's got their hands in a lot of the other sports, especially since they have the NHL coverage and the NBA coverage and the playoffs will be going on. But I would love to see if they don't have the MLB coverage this year, I would love to see college baseball fill those time slots if it's available. And even FS1 or CBS Sports or whoever, because I really want to see college baseball take off. I would love to see Lindsey Nelson Stadium on a national level, along with like the Ole Miss program, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, even breaking out of the SEC like Texas and the schools in California like Cal State Fullerton and Long Beach State, and even getting back into the Lone Star State with Dallas Baptist. I mean, who's ever heard of Dallas Baptist besides people who live in Dallas or is in the Baptist denomination? It's just kind of, it'd be kind of cool just to see that portrayed, but we shall wait and see. I think that would be a great benefit and really take college baseball and even college softball to that next level, because I think they're kind of, especially college baseball, is kind of a sleeping giant, and not a lot of people's kind of talking about them right now. And I know some people are kind of getting burned out with NIL, with college football, and a little bit of college basketball. I think college baseball is kind of in a good nucleus. While there is NIL in college baseball, it's just not as exposed as football and basketball is. And it'd be, like I said, with college baseball, you don't have a lot of unwritten rules like Major League Baseball does. You see more players show emotion after hitting home runs, flipping the bat over their head and, dancing around the bases a little bit more. Of course, that's a kind of a no-no in Major League Baseball, one of the unwritten rules. But, I think that would really draw fans' interest. Be like, you tune in on a Saturday on ESPN and like, Ole Miss and Tennessee baseball game, and okay, interesting. And then they start watching, and you see the crowd getting involved and players showing emotions and the cheers, and they're like, "Oh, this is baseball. I thought baseball was supposed to be old fashioned now, or whatever." And I think that can really draw interest. But that's just kind of what I think. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with it? But I think it's a good thing to kind of think about. Also, don't forget to check out my Tennessee baseball preview as we look ahead to the 2022 season. And then finally, as we get ready to wrap up, Cade Mays, Matthew Butler, Velus Jones Jr., and Alontae Taylor all announced to the NFL Combine today. Congratulations to all four of them. They all four played in the Reese's Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama just recently, and now all been invited to the Combine. I think all four of them will be drafted. Not sure what teams yet, but I think all four of them are very capable, of being on an NFL roster. Once again, we kind of know who all four of these players were, and we figured they were going to play this year. But what Josh Heupel and this coaching staff has done, really elevating all four of these players, especially Matthew Butler, been on this team for 5 years, and got some playing time, got some tackles. It's just, I didn't know if he would ever make it to an NFL roster, and he definitely has. And kudos to him. And I'm very, like I said, just happy all four of them getting this opportunity to play football at the next level. So that's going to wrap it up for Vol Society Live. We'll be back next week to talk more about Tennessee athletics in general as we continue on with college basketball, college baseball. We'll be starting up by the time we get our next episode underway, and softball, and like I said, hopefully get out of this winter blues and going into the spring. But like I said, that's going to wrap it up. My name is David Morrison. Don't forget, next Wednesday night, we'll be right back here on Vol Society Live. Until then, have a great night.